Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us. We will get started in just a few moments as we are waiting for everyone to log in. Once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon as we kick off Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara's Los Angeles County Virtual Wildfire Insurance Town Hall. We will now go over a few housekeeping rules. Audio, video, and chat will be monitored and recorded. And by default, all participants will be muted and video is disabled. This event is being recorded and streamed live on Facebook at Insurance CA GLV. We respect all participants in this convening today and want to create a safe space for all. Video will be on for speakers only, and previously submitted questions will be answered as part of the program. Before we get started, I would like to introduce our Spanish interpreter, Elizabeth, who will provide instructions to our Spanish speakers. For today's town hall, Commissioner Lara will be joined by Deputy Insurance Commissioner for Consumer Services and Market Conduct, Tony Cignarale, and Department of Insurance Regional Supervising Investigator, Amy Madrigal. I would like to thank all of you who submitted your questions prior to the event. Our hope is that through the conversation, your questions will be answered. But if we do not address your particular question, please contact the Department of Insurance experts at 1-800-927-4357, and they will be able to help you directly. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, who leads the California Department of Insurance, the consumer protection agency for the nation's largest insurance marketplace, and safeguards all of the state's consumers by fairly regulating the insurance industry. Commissioner Lara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you to my fellow Angelinos for joining us this evening. Again, I'm sorry for everybody who has suffered or who has been affected by these devastating wildfires. We are going to get through this, and I hope today gives you some peace of mind and answers some of these critical questions that you have as insurance consumers as you now begin the rebuilding process. So I know that this is a very overwhelming experience, and you probably have a lot of questions. I just want to make sure that you know that my job is in this town hall is to get those answers you need, and to make sure we get you on the path to recovery as quickly as possible. So my focus right now is making sure our wildfire survivors get the insurance benefits they are entitled to, and that they get them as soon as possible. All eyes are on the insurance companies, and I want all claims to be paid fully fairly, and quickly. And let's not kid ourselves. Recovery, we know, is never easy. And we have learned from our own experiences at the Department of Insurance with over 100 catastrophic wildfires throughout the state that that have been affecting us since 2017. And so we know that people need access to capital quickly, and they need to get their claims paid. So last week, I ordered insurance companies to provide advance payments on insurance claims to speed up the recovery. So we can now say that over 14,000 claims have already been partially paid. That's more than $4 billion that has already gone to survivors. By the numbers, that is nearly 300,000 on average to help people pay for rent and replacing the things you lost. That is even before we begin the rebuilding and the debris removal. So that number is going to go up, and we are going to be tracking that. Today, we unveiled the first ever claims tracker, public tracker, so that you can also see overall the claims data, and you can get that information on our website at insurance.ca.gov. You can also track that progress. I want you to make sure that you understand and actually visibly see that these claims are being paid and that insurance companies are doing what they're supposed to. But if they're not, I want to be very clear, my department and we will go after them. So my department experts are working to help people. We've met with over 3,750 people since the firestorm started on January 7th. We've held insurance support workshops in Santa Monica and in Pasadena that many of you attended. We are also at the disaster recovery centers where you can meet with our experts one-on-one. And we also extended our hours for our hotline to include nights and weekends. Our goal here is to get, again, people answers, to get people action, and to get people on the path to being paid the benefits that are rightfully theirs. So in the aftermath of a natural disaster, insurance companies have one job: pay claims. And it is my job to make sure that they're actually doing their job. That is why we've issued a series of orders to make sure insurance companies adhere to the exact terms that of their contracts and eliminate any ambiguity. That includes the insurance company's own FAIR plan. So we are protecting consumers by holding insurance companies accountable to those commitments. So insurance companies must do the right thing during this crisis and stand by their customers. We've heard directly from you. Many of you have been with them for years, paying your premiums fully and on time. So, 2 days after the fire started, I put a mandatory moratorium in effect to protect homeowners from being non-renewed or being canceled by their insurance companies after these fires. I'm also expanding my moratorium on non-renewals to the other areas reflecting the growing footprint of these fires. So that includes Palisades, Eaton, Hearst, Lydia, Sunset, and Woodley. Additionally, I've requested all insurers to forego any pending residential policy non-renewals or cancellations received by homeowners before the fire started. I've also requested all insurers to exceed the current 60-day grace period for affected policyholders to pay their home insurance premiums, so that you don't have the pressure of having to pay your premium when, one, you've lost everything, or we're dealing with the trauma that just happened, for example. Also, it's important to note that I required health insurers to ensure access to medically necessary health services, including prescription drugs. So if you lost your prescriptions during the fire, your health insurance company has to provide you another prescription so that you don't miss your medication or any medical services that you must have that you might have not been able to obtain because of the fires. I also am allowing out-of-state adjusters to help handle claims under strict oversight by my department. These actions will give you more protection, get your claims paid handled quickly, and give you more time to ensure your insurance coverage is available to you and give you some peace of mind. I've also asked all insurance companies to honor the policies that the non-renewed, that they non-renewed or intended to non-renew prior to the wildfires. I'm proud to say State Farm, California's largest insurer, was the first to answer my call by pausing all pending residential non-renewals, not just in the affected fires, but anywhere in LA County for 1 year. This impacts tens of thousands of policies. So let me be very clear of what this means. Effective January 7th, State Farm is suspending non-renewals for homeowners and commercial policies of all its LA County customers with pending non-renewals or cancellations. Although I applaud State Farm for answering my call and setting the tone for all other insurance companies to follow, this pause of non-renewals and cancellations we know is a temporary Band-Aid, but it gives you breathing room to survivors while they work on rebuilding their lives and recover from these devastating fires. It is also representing another step forward in helping address the insurance availability crisis currently facing our state that many of you have personally talked to me about. So last year, just quickly before we get to your questions, I finalized the largest reforms in our insurance market ever in 3 decades. I will continue to implement those reforms to grow insurance options for California consumers. That is why State Farm's action is so important. And I'm calling once again all other insurance companies to do the exact same for their customers. We don't know the scope of claims yet, and we will be getting better data directly from the insurance companies, and we will be sharing that with the public. I want you to know exactly what the data is that we're receiving to give you the peace of mind. We also know that you have a lot of questions, and that it's a very confusing time right now. So my department has a lot of resources to help you during this time, and we are available to you when you need us. I want to introduce Deputy Commissioner of Consumer Services, Tony Cignarale, whose team has been meeting with survivors directly and getting them the answers they need. Tony, can you please share more about the claims process and also what else people need to know during this trying time? Also, can you discuss the debris removal program, which I know a lot of people have been asking about, which we made an announcement today as well?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. Yeah, I mean, really, many people are going to be in different stages of the claims process. Some people have filed their claims. Most people, we hope, but we did meet some people at the workshop that had not filed their claims yet. So first thing, make sure you file your claim. Some people were talking to their broker and deciding, should I file the claim now or should I wait? The sooner you file your claim, the sooner you get put into the queue to get an adjuster assigned, to get an inspection, and go down the path of getting all your benefits paid. Another thing, many people didn't have their insurance policy. It could have been destroyed in the fire or they don't have access to it. It's really important that you have that available to you so that you understand what your coverages are. Of course, we're here to help. Your broker or agent is there to help. Your insurance company and your adjuster should be advising you on what your coverages are, but it really behooves you to understand. You don't have to be an expert, but to get the basic understanding of what your policy covers, the different buckets of coverage. For additional living expenses. Now, some policies may call it loss of use. Fair Plan calls it fair rental value. Either way, there's coverage for living expenses if you're not able to live in your home, whether it's a total loss, a partial loss, or it's otherwise uninhabitable. You're eligible for this coverage. If it's additional living expenses and you're required to turn in receipts, make sure you save all your receipts for everything, extra transportation, extra food costs, dry cleaning, everything, obviously hotels and Airbnbs, whatever that may be, and turn them into your insurance company. Another thing, keep track of all of your records of communications, your phone calls, your emails, your letters you send, meetings with adjusters on site, for example, and summarize those if you need to and put them in an email and send them to your adjuster so that there's clear understandings. We've seen it's a very long process. So we've seen where there's misunderstandings, or you may have a different adjuster next month because some of these out-of-state adjusters may not be in town adjusting claims for the full duration of your claim, especially on the larger claims. and you may get another adjuster, and then you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel and have your claim slowed down for that reason. As you get into the process of rebuilding, you're going to need a contractor estimate. Obviously, make sure that contractor is licensed and have them understand what it's going to take to rebuild your home. Your insurance company will also be going through this process, but it's to your benefit to seek out a contractor, that may be doing the work or at least getting an estimate to rebuild. So when your company does make you an offer, you have a better idea as to how fair that offer is and whether to accept that offer or not. This is, as Commissioner mentioned, this is trying times. There's a lot of stress, lack of sleep. Don't rush into any decision. No adjuster should be forcing you to sign a paper or settle a claim, especially this early in the process. If you're being pushed in that direction, let us know and we'll contact your insurance company to have them back off. You need to have time to understand it and know what you're signing, know what you're settling. If you don't understand it, ask questions to your adjuster. If you're not comfortable with the answers you get, contact us and let us walk you through that and give you some ideas as to what your coverages are and what's fair, what's not fair. Obviously, as the commissioner mentioned, we're available. We're available with our extended hours and on weekends at our consumer hotline, as well as a chat feature online. We have a lot of resources also on our website with top 10 tips and different laws that protect you, and we'll go through some of those tonight also. Now let's talk about debris removal. The LA County debris removal program was just announced on Tuesday, I believe. That's new to everybody. It's a little confusing. You're going to need to work with your insurance company. The good news is if you go through the county debris removal program, there's several benefits. Many of those benefits will help you retain your basic coverage that you need for rebuilding and not eat into those coverage buckets. And so that's one benefit. If you're not clear on how that's going to work for your particular policy, because it'll work differently depending on what kind of policy you have, whether it's with a traditional insurance company or with the FAIR plan, or even with traditional insurance companies, there could be differences in how they give you debris removal coverage separately or embedded in several of your other coverages. And that'll determine how much participation that your insurance company is going to have in paying this. The bottom line is you shouldn't have any money out of pocket unless you receive direct proceeds from your insurance company for debris removal, and you have that money to keep. You're not allowed to keep that money while you're getting so-called free debris removal service. So we could go through the details with that. We issued the commissioner issued a notice to insurance companies that goes into great detail as to what we expect of insurance companies in working with you and working with the county through this program to help you understand it and help you understand what the benefits are and how it will operate with your particular policy. We have also issued a consumer alert that'll give you some information that also links to that more detailed notice. And obviously you can contact us and we can walk you through how that program will work.
Thank you, Tony. And just to be very clear to the consumers, we want to make sure that the debris program is, if it's going to be truly free, it cannot impact your claims. So we send out a notice to our insurance companies to make sure that they cannot take that money out of your claim, so that you keep the most of your money that you can to help you through the rebuilding process. Another crucial topic we need to discuss is fraud prevention. Disasters bring out the best in people, and we've seen that with so many of our fellow Angelinos coming out to help. But unfortunately, it also brings out the worst. And that is why I've dispatched my department enforcement team, actual police that I have in the department, to safeguard consumers from fraudsters and help you with evacuation efforts as well. Also, that's why I created the insurance fraud strike team with our LA County DA's office. So we are working together to prosecute these fraudsters as quickly as possible and protect survivors from exploitation, which unfortunately happens after every major catastrophe. We are also educating wildfire survivors about their rights, verifying contractors, for example, and adjuster licenses, and providing guidance on navigating recovery. With many people receiving large insurance payouts, you might be vulnerable to scams at this time. So we want to be very mindful of that. Predators know that you're receiving these payouts and are going to try to take advantage of you, especially to our seniors, many folks that might not, monolingual, non-Spanish speakers. We have to protect ourselves, protect our neighbors. So if you see folks that are out there trying to solicit in your neighborhoods, they shouldn't be doing that. Call us and we'll dispatch our enforcement team. I want to also just take a second now to introduce our regional supervisor, Amy Madrigal, from our enforcement branch, just to share more about what wildfire survivors should be aware of and what we have seen so far. And I know it's just one more added stress for you, but please don't hesitate to call us. We will dispatch our team. We will help, protect you against these fraudsters, unfortunately. Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. First, I want to express my deepest empathy and solidarity with all Californians affected by wildfires. I understand the emotional and financial toll these disasters take on individuals and communities. I work with the Investigations Division in the Enforcement Branch, and we investigate and pursue both criminal and administrative penalties against bad actors. We work closely with local district attorneys and Department of Insurance attorneys to keep public adjusters accountable. Some precautions you can take is to verify credentials, check licenses of anyone you consider hiring, including public adjusters and contractors. Read contracts carefully and take your time to understand any fees and services included. If you are unclear about anything, ask questions. Public adjusters don't work for insurance carriers and need a contract to work with you. Also, public adjusters cannot pay you any money up front, ask you for any fees up front, or guarantee any payouts. Beware of anyone that may make false promises. You should also try to document everything. Keep records of any communications with insurance companies and adjusters. Also, take photos and videos of damages when it is safe to do so. Be wary of fraud. Be cautious of people rushing you or offering quick settlements. Try to take your time. This is a very stressful event. Please know that help is available and you are not alone in this journey. Reach out to verified resources for assistance and guidance. We are here to support you.
Thank you, Amy. We'll continue to send my fraud team out to the affected areas. You'll be able to see our folks. We want to make them as visible as possible so that you know that we're looking out for you. And of course, also to share information and to deter unscrupulous public adjusters or contractors who might be looking to take advantage of this terrible situation. So I want to go through some of the top questions that we have been receiving as we've been meeting with other survivors, meeting with our local elected officials, our mayor, our county supervisors. Some of you may have the same questions, and we want to make sure that we get all this information to you. So I want to take the second to do a quick rapid fire questions with you, Tony. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I think this is important. So, folks are, really worried that they might be underinsured and won't have enough to rebuild. What can they do?
Well, Commissioner, we've been hearing a couple different things. We've been hearing that some people are uninsured. So with regard to people that are allegedly uninsured, again, we haven't heard widespread problems of that. But if you're uninsured and you think you should be insured, like you think you had insurance and something happened and now you don't, and you have a loss, contact us. Let us take a look at it. If you know you don't have insurance, then make sure you register with FEMA to see what individual assistance available to you. Now, with regard to underinsurance, so you have insurance, but now you may not have enough coverage in either you're building your structure or additional living expenses or whatever, your contents, whatever it may be, then go through. It's too soon to know right now, but as you go through this process, and you get rebuilding estimates and you get into your inventory, which we'll talk about later, you find yourself underinsured and you think that, let's say I gave the broker agent all the information, and I'm not sure why I'm underinsured. Please contact us. Let us take a look at it, and see if there's mistakes that someone made that we might be able to fix and maybe resolve that issue. If in the end of the process you are underinsured, don't miss the FEMA deadline. Just because you have insurance, still register with FEMA. So down the road, you haven't missed the deadline. If you find yourself underinsured for any reason, you might be able to collect some assistance on the back end of your claim.
Thank you, Tony. So a lot of people have questions, and they've asked me personally, what is our department doing to ensure claims are being paid? Of course, I talked about this in the beginning, but why don't you further elaborate in terms of how do we make sure we keep insurance companies to the contract that they're legally bound with their consumers with?
Yes, very important. So we do a number of things. And the first thing is being out there, which we were at the workshops, we're at the disaster recovery centers, we're getting feedback from other public officials through our hotline, and we're tracking information and claims and issues. So if we see a systemic issue, we try and nip it in the bud, contact either the insurance company or whoever it needs to resolve it, and try to get that issue resolved before it becomes widespread or becomes a bigger problem. We also meet with the larger insurance companies and the trade groups to, if we see an issue that we know is going to happen, we've already met with them over the last 2 weeks on various issues, because we know things are going to happen, to make sure they have the capacity to pay claims, that they're aware that these issues are going to happen and they're ready for them, whether it's certain delays that may occur that they need to be ready for. So we're constantly in communication with the insurance industry, as well as if you contact us through our hotline, through our online complaint system, we're going to expedite your complaint, and we're going to resolve. Initially, you may just have a question, or maybe it's a delay. I filed my claim 2 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything. Those sorts of things. Contact us. Let us get that resolved. But that's not the end. It's a long process. So next month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, you may have another issue, whether it's your inventory or whether it's your how much they're offering you for your building or rebuild. Contact us again. It's most likely going to be the same compliance officer here that's going to look at your case. And if that's the case, they won't have to reinvent the wheel. So we're with you for the long haul at every step of the process. So just because we've resolved one issue doesn't mean we're done with you. You come back to us, we're gonna resolve that next issue coming up. In the end of this process, as we get down the road, we also, as part of our authority, we're allowed to do market conduct exams of insurance companies, where we take samples of all the claims that have been handled by these insurance companies and look at violations and see how they did, and take action in that respect too. So those are all the different ways that we look to resolve issues immediately, midterm, and then long term.
Tony, so just to be clear, a market conduct exam, we know what that is, but in layman's terms, is that an investigation of insurance companies where we ask for evidence and data?
Yeah, exactly, Commissioner. It's really, you consider it like an audit. Like, let's say we're going to audit wildfire claims of a particular company. We'll ask them for a sample of their wildfire claims, and we'll go through the entire claim from notice of claim all the way to the final payment, and look at all the documents and make sure all the timelines were addressed, make sure everything was done fairly and according to the law and according to that particular policy, and then take action if necessary if there's systemic violations, or get the company to make corrective action if there's some systemic issue that they can make corrective action on.
Thank you. So, Tony, many of us Angelenos are renters, and we get a lot of questions about renters' rights. Is the claims process different for renters than it is for homeowners?
No, it should be essentially the same. Obviously, the only difference is you're not going to have the larger part of the claim, which is the building and the structure to deal with, but you will still have to deal with your inventory and personal property claim and your additional living expense issue. So it's going to be the same in that respect. The one nuance, I guess I would say, with regard to additional living expenses, with a renter's policy, it would pay the lesser of the time it takes you the property to be habitable again, if let's say it's not a total loss or rebuilt, or how soon you could be settled in another apartment that's comparable. And so keep that in mind. And again, if you have questions on that, feel free to give us a call, talk to your adjuster, but contact us if you have questions on that.
Thank you, Tony. So let's move on to, I think, one of the most important questions that keeps coming up is folks that are covered by the FAIR Plan. And we know the FAIR Plan is the insurer of last resort for California. And many people often confuse it as a state agency. The FAIR Plan is run by, it's a conglomerate of insurance companies. That's how it was set up by the state legislature. And we hold them to account just as any other insurance company. So how do these fires impact how the FAIR Plan pays claims?
Well, we constantly, Commissioner Lara has issued, several communications to the FAIR Plan, providing his expectations as that claims need to be paid. They need to be paid as expeditiously as possible. We understand that there's a huge influx of claims coming in, but we expect them to have the capacity to pay claims, and they've advised us that they have that. We expect that all to happen. We also, we don't have any information to suggest otherwise, that FAIR Plan currently has the capacity and capital to pay all of your claims according to your policies. We don't see any issues in that regard. Of course, it's a fluid situation, and to monitor that, we have several of our internal, the commissioner's financial experts, meeting with the FAIR Plan regularly, a couple times a week, getting data, getting information, monitoring the financials to ensure that they have the financial capacity, and they continue to have the financial capacity on an ongoing basis. And then lastly, the commissioner entered into several modernization efforts to modernize the FAIR Plan so that going past these events and into the future, they're better structured to handle large events such as this.
Thank you, Tony. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty now about the claims process so that we can clarify a little bit more for our consumers. So what documents do people need to have to even start the work on the insurance claim? And also, what is contents insurance? And do I need a home inventory? These are three issues that keep coming up at our workshops, and we get questions from our local electeds and consumers. Can you quickly, I know we don't want to take too much time on each question, but can you quickly go through these important issues?
Yeah, sure, Commissioner. First, we mentioned it before, but we have several resources on our website that'll go through, and it'll allow you to identify what you need to work with your adjuster, what documents you might need, what tips. We have top 10 tips, it's called. As I mentioned earlier, getting a copy of your policy is certainly something you'll need down the road. If let's say you have a total loss or a large loss, you'll need to get a contractor estimate because you're going to need to get the work done, and it'll do two things. It'll allow you to hire a contractor that's licensed, but it'll also allow you to understand how much it's going to cost to do your rebuild when your company makes you an offer, to see if it's fair or not. And to let you know, we're here. There's several documents that are inventory, rebuild, ALE, additional living expense receipts, different stages of the process. You'll need different documents. Your adjuster should be able to help you with that. But we're here also, again, to walk you through that at any stage of this process for any of those coverages. With regard to the next issue, which is the contents issue, obviously, most of you know that your contents is going to cover your personal property, whether it's been damaged, let's say by smoke damage, or whether it's been completely destroyed by the fire. And in order to get coverage for that, or to get paid for that, obviously, you'll have to let the company know what you had. So that entails an inventory. Luckily, there are laws in place, recent laws that were passed, that allow you to, if you have let's say you have a total loss and you have it's a burden, obviously. You know, it's an undue burden in our eyes to do a complete inventory of everything you had in your home. But some of the laws help you out in this respect. They allow you to bulk list those items, such as, you know, instead of listing each CD you have, or each dish, or each piece of clothing, you can bulk those and list them in that sense. Those aren't issues that you need to necessarily do right away. You know, we've heard that some adjusters may be telling people, hey, you need to get your inventory to us right away in 60 days, or we're not going to pay you. That's not going to happen. No company is going to try to enforce a 60-day inventory, especially if you've lost your home and you're dealing with the initial stages of the claim. Even if you did your inventory, you don't have a home yet to purchase the items and put the inventory, you know, your items back in a location. And so that would never happen. So come to us. If you're hearing that, please come to us on that. And another law that helps you is you're allowed to, if you have a total loss, you're allowed to get an advance payment of your contents coverage, a significant percentage, without doing an inventory. So we recommend you make that request, and you get that, you do that inventory, and you sorry, there's an alarm going off. I'll continue. So just know that there's an advance payment. When we were at the workshop, the commissioners' workshops the last 2 weekends, we had the insurance companies there, and many of them were able to receive advance payments for their inventory, significant percentage, and that doesn't preclude you from doing a full inventory and getting your full contents coverage paid down the road, but at least it gets you a significant portion of that up front. And there is a cap of $250,000 on that, so keep that in mind. And if you're not sure of, for your particular policy, what that number is, how much you should be getting from your insurance company, first ask your adjuster, but come to us. If we looked at your policy, we'd be able to walk you through, here's your certain coverages, and here's what that percentage would be, how much that would relate to in dollars of what you should be receiving for advance payments.
Thank you. And I'm very proud of the fact that, you know, if nobody should be asking you for a list of itemized contents, it is inhumane, and there's nothing that pisses me off when I hear of this happening. And so we've changed laws to stop this practice. So this should not be happening, and we will continue to monitor the situation. Tony, let's move now towards another important question that we keep getting is, do folks need to continue paying their insurance policy if their home is gone now? You know, or when it's being rebuilt? These are important questions that people have been asking us as well.
Yeah, Commissioner, that's a good question. We get that a lot, and you know, I don't have a home. Why should I pay insurance? A couple of things. Our advice is keep your insurance. You're going to need it for a number of reasons. First of all, if you have a lender, they're probably going to want you to continue that coverage. If you don't continue that coverage, they may force place it, which would be more expensive than what you might be paying now. Secondly, you still have a property. You still need liability coverage. You're going to need coverage as you go through the rebuild process. So work with your insurance company to have them understand where you are in each process. They're required, if you have a total loss, to, number one, go through your policy with you and see if it needs to be adjusted. For example, you don't have a building right now. Does that change your premium for this period of time? Does it change then as you start going through different phases of your rebuild? Also, one benefit if you have a total loss, the insurance company is required to renew your policy for the next 2 renewals at a minimum of the next 24 months. That's separate and apart from the 1-year moratorium that Commissioner Lara issued. So keep that in mind, that you have that additional protection of 2 years of coverage to protect you while you're going through this process, at least, because your insurance company may still renew you at the end of those 2 years.
Thank you, Tony. These have been kind of like our kind of common questions we've been getting. So I hope that the information helps and the answers a lot of the questions that people have had. I know that there's a lot to take in, but we are here to help you and understand it and to ensure that action is taken on your behalf to protect you. So, please do not hesitate to contact us. One thing to note is at our hotline, we have actual insurance experts online waiting to help you. You're going to talk to an actual person. Now we're going to move to other questions that we received specifically for this town hall that were sent in, and we appreciate you sending in these questions, and we will do our best to answer them as many as we can. We noticed that there's a lot. We received hundreds of questions about similar topics, so we divided up your questions into different themes to try to cover as much areas as we can. Again, we appreciate you sending these in, and if we still don't answer your question, we'll call us and we'll get back to you. So I'm going to bring back Amy to join us and help answer some of these questions. So let's try to move as quickly as possible because I know we're running out of time. Question that we received: my home is not livable due to the wildfire. Am I still eligible for ALE coverage? Specifically, I suffered smoke damage and there are possible toxic contamination surrounding the area. Very important question. Tony.
Yeah, I'll take this one, Commissioner. Yeah, you're eligible for, if your home is not habitable, whether it's because of it being destroyed by the fire or whether it's suffered significant smoke damage, so it's not habitable. In addition, it could be maybe you suffered minor damage with smoke, but you don't have power, you don't have sewage, or you don't have water coming into your home. You'd still be eligible for additional living expenses. So each person's situation is going to be a little bit different, but check into that for sure. And if you don't get the answer that you think you should be getting, contact us. With regard to toxic contamination, that's an important issue. We heard it a lot at the workshop when we were talking to people that they're concerned. Yeah, I have smoke damage both in my house as well as surrounding my property, and I don't want to breathe that in. So my home is not habitable in that sense. And we would common sense would say we would agree with you. So in that case, you'll have to prove to your insurance company that it's not habitable if there's a dispute with them. One way would be to look at whether your local health department or some other authority has the ability to declare certain areas unhealthy or uninhabitable due to the toxic ash and soot that's still surrounding many properties. So that's one thing that we're looking at that could be a possibility to allow some people to continue that coverage. So that's something to keep in mind for the future.
Tony, what do we tell people? We've heard these anecdotal stories of somebody coming in from the insurance company or a so-called expert coming in and just smelling the smoke, and then apparently if it's up to their opinion, say I don't smell any smoke or see anything, so there's no smoke damage. But yet when consumers look through their vents, look at their filters, it's full of debris, smoke, contamination. What do you recommend people to do in that situation?
Yeah, Commissioner, that's certainly not acceptable to us. An insurance company should be conducting a diligent investigation of a claim, and that could include and should include with regard to smoke damage or soot or ash, especially with the different chemicals that have been in the air. Certain testing for those chemicals, whether it's asbestos and other chemicals, soot, ash chemicals, to make sure that your home is habitable and to know how to remediate those issues. So certain types of chemicals or certain components may necessitate certain different remedial actions to be taken by the insurance company. So it's really important for the company to do the testing it needs to do to ensure that they're properly handling that claim and then remediating that claim properly. And if you're not comfortable with what your adjuster is telling you, again, contact us, let us know about it, and let us look into that issue.
And just to be clear again, when we talk about insurance companies, that's also the standard we're expecting the FAIR plan to follow. So just to make sure that we again remind people, when we say insurance companies, that also includes the FAIR plan. Amy, we got a question about how can consumers verify if a public adjuster is properly licensed, and how do they report fraud to the department?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, again, public adjusters don't work for insurance companies. You have a choice to hire one. But public adjusters are required to be licensed in California. So to check if they have a license, it's very simple. You can go to our website, which they have on the PowerPoint here, insurance.ca.gov. You click on the tab Agents and Brokers, and there's a link for check a license. And there, from there's a very easy search. You can search by license number, business name, or the individual's name. However, if you think you've been a victim of a scam, or you think some sort of fraudulent behavior is going on, or you worried, maybe about a family member that might have fallen for a scam, that's also something that you can report to us, because we do regulate public adjusters. Again, that's on the same website. And then from the website, you can hit file a complaint. And the website does a great job of walking you through the process. There's a way to file the complaint online, or there's also an email and a phone number that you can call to file a complaint.
And Amy, a question for you. How long will it take for your team to either get back to the consumer or start investigating? What are the criteria that you need meets to open an actual active investigation?
So anyone can file a complaint, and since we have multiple offices throughout the region, it goes to a central intake unit, and from there it is sent to the most appropriate office. For example, I work in the Orange office, so if the public adjuster had their business here in Orange, it would get assigned to our office, and then from there it's assigned to an investigator who would contact the reporting party, the complainant.
Thank you, Amy. And then can you just quickly give us, we keep talking about adjusters, complaints, fraud. Can you give us quickly, what is an example of what we've seen in past fires of fraudulent activity?
Well, sort of what was mentioned earlier by Tony, that sometimes public adjusters will be there before they're, legally allowed to be there, and they might rush a person or a family into signing a contract that might have a fee of maybe like 30%, and they don't understand what they're signing. Or they might make false promises of what they're going to get back from the insurance carrier, but that might not be something that they can actually promise without knowing, the coverage or the extent of the damage. Or they could maybe even ask for a fee up front, which is something that they're not allowed to do. So those are a couple of things.
This also kind of leads into the other question that was sent in. So what are some of the rules that public adjusters need to follow?
So first, like we mentioned, they must have a license to operate. Our department regulates those licenses. They're not supposed to be, soliciting business 7 days following declared disaster areas or between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. So they shouldn't be coming around as soon as it's reopened, or like at 10 o'clock at night trying to get your business. They can't charge upfront fees. So if that's something they're telling you, that automatically is wrong and should be reported to us. Also, their fees are typically a percentage of your claim, and that should be clearly stated in their contract. So if that's not in their contract, or that's not clear to you, then that's definitely a question that you need answered, or I would be wary of signing the contract. They also can't offer money upfront to policyholders. If that's something that they're doing, it could be potentially fraudulent, and I would urge you to report that to us as well. And they cannot promise specific outcomes or guarantee a specific amount that you would get from the claims. Like I mentioned, that's sometimes to do with the policy you had and the extent of damage. So if they're just making that offer off the bat and they haven't actually looked at anything or know what policy you have, then I would be very wary of that statement.
Thank you, Amy. Tony, a great question here. What is the normal turnaround time for insurance adjusters to come to any decision?
Well, there are there's laws and there's regulations that are in place that set forth very clear timelines as to when an adjuster needs to respond back to you. The adjuster needs to acknowledge your claim after you report it within 15 days. They're required to respond to one of your communications within 15 days or sooner. And obviously sooner, but 15 days is the limit. So that's another reason why we mentioned early on, document your phone calls, document your emails, and in-person meetings. so that you know what you have a full documentation trail. So if you do have to come to us, we'll have a better idea as to what the adjuster did and what they didn't do. There are a number of other timeframes with regard to when they must accept a claim, deny a claim, how long it takes to pay the claim, but that'll all depend on what particular coverage we're talking about and how far we are into each of those processes.
Thank you, Tony. We kind of hit multiple times the issues around inventory lists, but this is a unique question. Do I need to make an inventory list of every item I own or list or lost in a fire, as it is an undue burden on me? Of course, I said it's inhumane. This is the question here. Can I decide to replace versus remediate? What does that mean?
Well, let's start with that. Just replace. So that would be if you don't have a complete total loss and you have smoke damage and you decide it's going to be too much to remediate that, whether it's let's say a sofa, a fabric sofa. Do I try to get it cleaned and get the smoke out and the chemicals out, or do I decide to just replace it? But with regard to those partial, those situations with regard to your contents, for example, those are conversations to have with your adjuster, but make sure you don't go out and replace and get rid of those items without your adjuster first inspecting your property. Make sure they inspect your property. And maybe even before that, we would suggest take a video and photographs of your property and of your surroundings so that you have that available sooner rather than later, and sooner from when the fire and smoke happened, to show everything, and then have that available. But don't get rid of your items until you had it inspected by your adjuster, because that could cause problems in terms of your claim. But as we mentioned earlier, with regard to a total loss, your contents, you are allowed now to bulk list your items, set of each item individually, and as well as that advance payment. That's a significant payment off of your contents and personal property coverage, up to that $250,000 maximum. But then you're still allowed to do an inventory down the road to recover your full coverage.
Thank you, Tony. Great answer. Okay, next question. If I don't have enough coverage limits for my primary structure to rebuild, but still have not exhausted my limits for my other structure coverage, can I use that untapped coverage to rebuild my primary structure? Great question.
Yeah, that's another law that we were able to recently get passed. So if you don't have enough coverage for your primary dwelling, but let's say you don't have too many other structures, because let's say you had an attached garage that would be part of your primary home, and so you don't have too many other structures, so maybe you still have some coverage available. In that case, you'd be allowed to add what's left in your other structure coverage to your primary structure coverage and use that to mitigate or reduce the chances of being underinsured, for the primary structure that you do have.
Thank you, Tony. Two more questions as we get ready to wrap up. Something that we've been hearing a lot about is for folks that want to, who may have multiple properties and want to rent them out, for folks that are looking for housing and need to switch over to a renter's policy as opposed to the individual property policy. What recommendations do you have for those questions?
Well, yeah. First of all, if you're going to keep your home, you should, as we mentioned earlier, there's protections in place, and we would recommend that you keep your coverage on the home that you lost or your property that's damaged. If you need rental coverage in the new property, and many landlords are asking for renter's insurance in order to get on the lease, either go to the same company you're currently with or go to other companies, shop around for renter's insurance. If we heard early on that there are companies, because the fires were still active, they had their own, what they called a moratorium on writing new business, both for homeowners and renters insurance in certain areas. Those we expect to be lifted soon. But in the meantime, if you need to sign a lease, be aware that the California Fair Plan is not allowed to not write you. So if you do need renter's insurance, they also sell renter's insurance. and you should be able to get that renter's insurance from the California Fair Plan, even if it's only on a temporary basis until the other companies, either your current company or other companies, come back in and are then offering rental insurance coverage.
The Fair Plan has to write you a renter's policy to allow for you to be able to offer any potential property for survivors who are looking for housing. Thank you, Tony. Last question, which is a very important one, as people are receiving their claims and making, very difficult decisions as, do I rebuild, do I move, as I am making these financial decisions for themselves and their family. The question is, if for my situation, I am unable or choose not to rebuild at the same location, am I still eligible to receive the full benefits owed under my policy?
Yeah, and this is a great protection here. We were the first state, and we may still be the only state that allows policyholders to do this. And the way it works is this. First, you have to understand how much it would cost to rebuild the home that you lost. So if you have a total loss, you had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, certain square footage, certain quality of roof, etc., you determine the math of how much it would cost to replace that home. And that'll include any building code upgrade costs, plus your extended replacement cost coverage if you have it. Once let's say that number is $500,000, for example, you could then take that $500,000, and because as we've been talking about, there's inventory, there's rebuild, there's additional living expense. It's a long process. Many people will decide, I don't have the patience or the desire to spend the next few years doing a rebuild on my home. I'm going to use that money to go purchase a new home or get a rebuilt home on a different lot. And that'll save them time. That's certainly available to you, and you should be eligible for the full benefits had you have rebuilt your home on your same lot. Keep in mind, though, if you take, for example, that $500,000 that you're eligible for, you have to spend that on the new property. So if you get $500,000, but you only spend $400,000 on the new home that you buy, you're only eligible for what you're spending on the new property.
That's a good note, and we're very proud that we've changed that law to give people that option. And so we've reached the time. We're mindful of your time. We don't want to go over, but I just want to again let you know, thank you for joining us this evening. We know you have a lot of things going on right now and a lot of things to consider, and we truly value your time. Please be on the lookout for our team. We're going to be at the disaster recovery centers. We're going to, continue to now start, going to the town halls. We're looking at future dates for workshops to help you. And of course, we have our hotline and we have our chat option at insurance.ca.gov. We're here to help you, whether you're in the claims process, looking for resources to recover, or protecting yourself from scams. Again, please call us at 1-800-927-4357, or visit us, like I said, at insurance.ca.gov. We want you to do, we're here to protect you, to give you the advice you need. And please do not hesitate to reach out and look out for our team. We are here to help you. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you out as you continue to rebuild and get your life back together. We're here to help and assist you. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.